As a lifelong Harry Potter fan, it's safe to say hopes and expectations for Hogwarts Legacy were quite high, but I was also cautious about it because the developers of this game have not done a game of this size before, so this very easily could have been another pre-ordering cautionary tale in the video game world. But thankfully, for me, that was not the case. I thoroughly enjoyed Hogwarts Legacy for almost all 44 hours of my playthrough. Biggest praise of this game right out the gate, the wizarding world is captured brilliantly in here with the ambience and just the overall charm and feel of it. I adored spending time in this universe, primarily of course in Hogwarts, and Hogwarts itself is of course the star of the game, it being Hogwarts Legacy and all. There were many times where I was just wandering around the halls of Hogwarts and just taking in, again, that ambience of this place and exploring all the different corridors and rooms and hidden passages. They really captured Hogwarts incredibly well, and 20-30 plus hours into my playthrough there was still rooms and corridors and passages that I hadn't discovered yet, and I still think there are some rooms I haven't been in yet because I've only just recently unlocked level 3 of Alohomora, so I can unlock level 3 locks, so there's still more stuff to see in there. 40 hours into my playthrough, it is one hell of a labyrinth. Harry Potter fans have wanted to live this fantasy for as long as we can remember, getting our acceptance letter, going to Hogwarts, and just roaming the halls and roaming the castle and just taking in the magic, and this game really lets you do that. Open world games are my personal favourite types of games, and to have an open world game where the open world itself is in the wizarding universe with Hogwarts at its centre, fully explorable in every detail, this game really is kind of a dream come true for me. Hogsmeade is cool to explore as well. I like the design and the feel of Hogsmeade. It's got a very warm vibe to it, and it's a really nice kind of like tight-knit British wizarding village. Really enjoyed walking around there, taking in that atmosphere, going in all the buildings, all the different shops. The joke shop's really cool in Hogsmeade, where you go in there and interact with all the magical jokes and all the different whizzes and poppers and confetti are flying all over the place. The amount of animations they put into this game, just little world animations where you can just go up to something and interact with it and some kind of magical thing will happen, like you go up to a bush or a hedge and you interact with it and the shears just magically pop up and cut the hedge all by itself. Just those little details just help really bring this world to life, and I really appreciate the developers putting those animations in there just to give that world that extra bit of magic. I apologise for all the magical puns you're going to hear in this. I mean, it's hard not to. I love seeing the change in seasons and how the environment changes to match the season. Like in Halloween, you see lots of pumpkins around Hogsmeade, and you see the pumpkins rising in the Great Hall. Turns to Christmas time, it's all snowy everywhere, and you've got the Christmas decorations in Hogsmeade as well as the snowfall and the Christmas decorations in the Great Hall. I love going to all the different classes in Hogwarts, like potions, herbology, defense against the dark arts, where you have to learn spells and different things in those classes that you then take out into the main game to use in combat. It kind of reminded me a little bit of Bully in that regard, where in Bully you did the classes and you get upgrades from that class to use in the open world during missions. Later on in the game there's a really cool thing you can do where you can capture magical creatures and take them to your own sanctuary, where you can like breed them and look after them, and you can get kind of upgrades from like feathers and different things you can take from them. It kind of reminded me of the first Fantastic Beasts film with Newt Scamander's briefcase, where he goes into there and he has like his own sanctuary of creatures. That was really cool. I think you get the picture by now. They did a great job capturing this world, bringing it to life. It was amazing to spend time in this world, just going around and doing all the various magical things that you can do in here. So let's talk about the gameplay, specifically the spells and the combat, all of which really enjoyable. But there was a learning curve, at least there was for me, because I'm not really used to RPG type games. So I had to really get used to how to cast the spells, how to bring up the different spell sets and switch between them, trying to figure out on the fly which spells get through which different defenses. Like there will be enemies in the world that have like the shield around them, and depending on the colour of the shield, you need a certain spell with that spell colour to get through that shield. A lot you have to think of all at once whilst you're doing spell combat. But once you master it, once you get used to the controls, how to switch through the different spells and which spells get through which shields, especially when you start putting these spells together in combos and you are just unloading your magical arsenal on these guys, Expelliarmuses, Confrindos, Incendios out the wazoo, and you are just absolutely decimating these people with all your spells, you start to feel like quite the wizarding badass. But since we're on the subject of spells, let's talk about the real business. The unforgivable curses are in this game, yes. And I was so hyped because before the game I was reading different things. Some people were saying they're in the game, someone else said yeah they are in the game but you can only use them sometimes. So I didn't know what the hell the deal was, but you learn the curses and you put them to your spell set, you can use them to your heart's content. Avada Kedavra does have the longest cooldown of all the spells, but it was still shorter than I expected. I was expecting like a 5-minute cooldown, but it's actually like 2 minutes. Word of warning though, it is possible to skip the ability to learn these curses. You learn the curses during the side quest involving the Sebastian Salò character. He's trying to find a cure for his cursed sister. You just have to select the dialogue option to say, yes, I would like to learn those curses. So just pay attention to the dialogue, wait for the prompt and say, yes, I'd like to learn those curses, and you'll be totally fine. I'm just really glad that the curses are in this game, because I could have easily have seen Warner Brothers step in and go, well, the wizarding world really appeals to families and we don't want kids using the killing curse, so no unforgivable curses, please. But surprisingly, no. Avada Kedavra, Crucio, and Imperio are in this game. They're usable whenever you want them to be, and the game is all the more darkly glorious as a result. As far as the main story goes, it was a pretty cool adventure. Your main character can kind of see and harness this ancient form of magic, and there are some bad guys who want to get their hands on that magic, so you just gotta keep it out of the hands of the bad guys. And it added some really cool lore to the wizarding world. There were some cool backstory elements to it. It's not a story that's gonna stick with me or resonate with me for years to come, but for a storyline, for an open world Harry Potter game where you're the wizard at the center doing all the magical stuff, it did its job. It was an entertaining adventure. Any flaws and gripes that I have with the game are all pretty much technical stuff. There are some times where an object or some textures would not load or render properly. Things like that could easily be fixed in a patch, but I will say I did have one game-breaking bug, and unfortunately it was during one of the climactic quests in the game, which involves a confrontation with one of the main villains. And the confrontation happens, someone glitched out of the screen, and then my character kind of glitched onto the ground, and I couldn't move, I couldn't stand up, I couldn't do anything. And it was during, again, one of the climactic scenes of the game. So yeah, that kind of fell flat thanks to a game-breaking glitch. So that's going to be the one major blight on my first playthrough of Hogwarts Legacy, unfortunately. Whatever shortcomings this game had in the technical department, it completely made up for with the open world, the mythology, the lore, the execution, and how they just brought the Harry Potter wizarding world to incredible life. Hogwarts Legacy is easily the best thing to happen to the wizarding world on screen since Deathly Hallows Part 2. Which I know is not saying much, but it is. I finished the main storyline, but there's still a lot of side quests and different things to go and see in the open world. In fact, I've barely even touched the bottom part of the map. It's still pretty much all unexplored territory. 40 hours plus into the game, there's still loads to go and see in the open world. I love open world games where the map is just rammed with things to see and do. And I played as a Gryffindor in my first playthrough, and there were tons of side quests. I got so many side quests in different little parts of the map, all the different villages and towns. A new thing would pop up for a new side quest. I was just like, oh my god, there is just so much to do in this damn game. Which is another huge props to the developers. They could have easily put all their attention and focus into Hogwarts and Hogsmeade and the Forbidden Forest, all the locations we know from the films, which, I mean, those locations obviously stand out the most because we already know those locations, but it's not a case where the rest of the map pales in comparison. It's still a really gorgeous open world to explore, and again, there's lots of stuff to see and do in it. I'm very happy with how this game turned out, and I'm very excited to go back, finish off the side quests, and I also want to do a second playthrough as a Slytherin because I was a Gryffindor the first time, but I want to be a Slytherin and be a douchebag and just choose all the douchebag dialogue options and whatnot, see how different it is as well. Plus, I just want to spend more time in this world, which I guess is the ultimate positive you can give to any open world game, where you just don't want to stop spending time in this world that the developers have created for the game. So yeah, Avalanche Software, Portkey Games, whatever the developers are, great job with Hogwarts Legacy. You've nailed this universe, and you've given this lifelong Harry Potter fan the Harry Potter game that he's always wanted to see.